and welcome to the Menopause Mindshift Self-Love Podcast, where we are inspiring women in menopause to unleash their inner queen, write their own story, and define their own menopause journey. I am your host, the Menopause Queen, Lisa R. Triggs, certified menopause coach, certified neuroscience coach, motivational speaker, and best-selling author of The Menopause Mindshift, How I Unleashed My Inner Queen, and you can too. This is a space for real, honest conversations about menopause, because menopause isn't just about hormones. It's neurological, it's emotional, and it's deeply personal. After 20 years of navigating menopause, I've learned that what most women are missing isn't more information, it's a different way of seeing themselves. And in this podcast, we talk about what's really happening in your body, your brain, and the tools that support you in feeling better. You'll hear from inspiring guests, as well as the insights and perspective shifts that changed everything for me. Because self-love in menopause isn't a luxury, it's the foundation. So if you are ready to think differently about menopause, reconnect with yourself, and define your own journey, you are in the right place. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right in your career? Working hard, showing up, taking on more, and still not moving forward the way you expected? What if the reason is not you, but a gap in the support and leadership training women are given along the way? Today's guest is here to change that and to help women finally break through to the next level. I'm joined by Lori Lalonde, founder of Her Executive Ascent. Lori spent 3 decades in the tech industry, including leading large-scale digital transformation and cloud innovation programs at Microsoft and Menolife. Through years of coaching and developing high-performing teams, she identified a critical gap where women, especially in middle management, were not being supported to advance into senior leadership roles. Frustrated by seeing women overloaded with operational and caretaking responsibilities while others focused on strategy and advancement, she made it her mission to change that. Now, through her work, she helps women strengthen strategic thinking, navigate organizational dynamics, and elevate into the highest levels of their organizations. Hello, and welcome to the Menopause Mindshift Self-Love Podcast, where we are helping women unleash their inner queen and write their own menopause story. I am your host, the Menopause Queen, Lisa R. Triggs, best-selling author and motivational speaker. Lori, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm so excited to speak with you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited too.
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to this conversation. Where do you want to start? And tell us about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I had a corporate career, multiple companies over the course of almost 30 years. And about a year ago, I had a moment where I just decided, I need to do something different. And I had already been working on this idea, and it was, an idea that was inspired by women, the amazing women that I was working with, and just seeing what was happening, in the leadership levels of the companies that I was working at. And what I noticed was women were obviously under-sponsored, over-mentored, but also taking on a lot more work, a lot of the tactical work, and not receiving really actionable feedback around how to show up as a leader at the level that they were at. So as they were moving up in the organization, they were collecting more work and not letting go of the work that made them successful in the role before. So I decided, okay, I'm going to build this program. I'm going to make it available and accessible for women to invest in themselves if their companies don't have the budget for it. And I'm going to make sure it's very interactive and engaging and provides them with actionable strategies and templates that they can put to practice from day one. So that was the mission and the vision and the inspiration behind Her Executive Ascent, and me taking the leap to leave corporate after 3 decades to do something different.
Good for you. You know what? That was a really brave thing to do, to decide to make that shift for yourself, see that gap. So walk us through, or when someone engages you, what does that look like for them?
Yeah, so it's essentially assessing where they're at today. So this program is targeted towards women who are at the director level or above, and looking to sharpen their senior leadership, executive leadership skills. It encompasses, a lot of the skills that we're not taught in traditional training, and in leadership training, it feels like it's scarce and few and far between. We're taught how to lead teams. Maybe we're given additional training around, hosting performance discussions and navigating conflict, but we're not given the tools on what a strategic leadership mindset looks like. We're told to be strategic, but we're not given feedback on what that looks like. We don't know how to navigate power and politics in the way that the men do, because that
Right.
is something that they seem to just do by nature or the way that they were brought up. And
Hmm.
women struggle with that. And then not to say all women, but the majority of women that I've talked to really struggle with how to play the political game in corporate. And a lot of them
Yes.
don't want to do that.
Because it is a game.
Yes. It is. And that doesn't feel authentic to us. It just feels manipulative. So we don't want to do it. Yeah.
I'm wondering if some of the struggle or that they might be having is because of midlife. Do you think there's any correlation there?
Think there's definitely struggles. For me, even I know what I've experienced, but it is separate from the leadership skills that they learn through the program.
Right.
The midlife struggles really impact us day to day. And from my experience, what I've experienced, I'm 52. I have, since my fees, started noticing I wasn't as sharp as I used to be. I was forgetting words. I was more tired. I wasn't able to sleep at night throughout like a whole night. 3 o'clock in the morning wake ups happened regularly. And at the time that this was happening, I wasn't equating that to midlife or perimenopause. I didn't even know what the term meant at the time. And I had to start researching it on my own. And thankfully, like we have amazing women in the field that are publishing a lot of information online. That's where I started getting that knowledge and getting that information about what was happening to me in my body and how that impacted me at work. It was really, really hard because no one was talking about it at work. There were no programs supporting women at that stage of life yet in the workplace. And it felt like you were completely on your own trying to get back to some sort of normal while still trying to operate at the level that you were operating at before. And that caused a lot of anxiety, burnout, depression. And I ended up having to take a leave at one point because I think both worlds collided. It's this pressure to continue to perform and overperform, plus all of the challenges and things that I'm experiencing in perimenopause that went untreated for so long. And that was the breaking point where I took the leave. I started talking to my nurse practitioner on a regular basis on how to, support initially the anxiety and depression. But I also started challenging more on how do I address the symptoms in perimenopause that I'm experiencing?
Hmm.
What was disappointing for me at that point was I was told to just power through it. And I didn't accept that as an answer. So I did
Good for
my own
you.
research, searched for a private clinic, and I am very fortunate that I have the position and the money to be able to invest in my health and pay for that. I know not many people have that ability, but I had to go to a private clinic and pay for a naturopathic doctor and a nurse practitioner that specialized in menopausal women and premenopause and postmenopause. And that's where I started getting the care that I needed. I started understanding a bit more about the correlation between anxiety, depression, burnout, perimenopause, you know, the lack
And the
of
hormones,
estrogen
yes.
or the fluctuations, progesterone, even. I mean, getting on that helped improve my sleep, ensuring that I had everything that I needed to feel more like myself. I will not say that there's going back to who I was
Yeah.
before. Absolutely, it's not. But there's more freedom in that. I think right now I'm at a stage in my life where, okay, my sharpness is back, my brain fog isn't as bad, the hot flashes are, tamed quite a bit, but I just have this new awareness and this new sense of purpose and sense of self that has brought me. And it's strange to say that, and I don't know if you hear that a lot from women in this stage of life and beyond, but for me, it was just really a grounding moment of there's more to life than what I'm doing right now. And I definitely know the type of impact I want to have on the world. And I just went through this awful, horrible phase of feeling like I was losing myself in, the fluctuations that were happening within me. And now that I've gotten back on solid footing or solid ground, I want to do something more impactful. And that was just it for me. That was a wake up call.
I love it. I'm glad that you did that for yourself. You know what I mean? Because some women aren't. And back to being at work in the workforce, I know it can be very challenging, right? Where we're experiencing the brain fog and that, but we're still mid career. We have other goals maybe we want to achieve, but we're being challenged by what's going on hormonally. And I'm like you, I did put the two and two together for a long time either. That things that were happening with me were related to that. Some stuff I just thought was life experience, which I think is true, but I think the hormonal changes exasperated that, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, what else would you like to tell us about how you support women?
Well, before we get to that, I think I want to stay on this a little bit longer around this notion and this of how midlife impacts us in corporate, because there's so many women that are still going through it. And many women are suffering in silence. There are women who decide enough's enough and they leave corporate, and not to pursue another venture like I did, but more so to just heal and reset and understand what is it that they even want to do next, but first
Yeah.
taking care of their health.
Yeah.
And so, what I've seen in corporate, what I would love to see in corporate, and I don't do this, but this is your space because, and I know of another menopause coach that in Canada that's also doing this, but corporations really need to revisit their accommodation structure, their support systems in the workplace for women at this stage of life. That is something it's not there. It's not there at all. It's not talked about. Maybe some companies are starting to, bring in some programs for women to learn about symptoms that they have and what they're going through. But is there any training for the rest of the organization to learn how to support their peers that are going through this? And is there an accommodation structure that enables women going through this stage of life to be supported in a way that makes sense for them? Accommodations are generally reserved for specific medical diagnosis. And there's no medical, like formal, like medical diagnosis, like, okay, officially you are in perimenopause. It's just symptomatic and it can come on at various times. And even when you are treating it, there's still other challenges that we go through. And being able to have the flexibility to work when our energy is high, rest when our energy is low, work from home on days where we know it's not going to be an ideal day to be in the office because our periods are heavier, the cramping could be worse, hot flashes definitely are debilitating. And there's times I've had to change my tops multiple times throughout the day just because of hot flashes. And imagine the fact that women are at their peak as far as experience and
Hmm.
knowledge, but then having to decide to walk away from corporate because there's no support system for them as they're navigating that. And then they just have to take that time away for themselves until they feel that they're back to a healthy state and then decide what's next. So it's really like a lose-lose situation right now without those support systems in place.
Mm, I understand. My mission's a little bit different because I would be one of the people that the company hires to bring in as part of the support that they provide in order to be able to educate and talk to women about how they can support themselves through this journey so that they can still function and can still continue to achieve their goals. I'm part of the solution.
Love that. I love that.
I'm part of
My
the
goodness.
solution, right? Bring somebody like me in to have a lunch and learn or a talk and help the women.
Absolutely.
Because to me, I'm about the woman's journeys. I'm part of the solution. You bring me in so that I can help you, help your female employees to be able to manage their symptoms, put things in place. Uh,
Then I'll have enough experience behind me that it'll just be a no-brainer, right? And then at this stage of life, it's like, this is hell on earth. What am I living? How does anybody function? And getting to that stage of how
Then you think about the
do the
women before us. It's like,
yeah,
how have they done it? They've just muddled through, or that explains why Jane and Betty all of a sudden disappeared from work. They retired early. And that is always an option if sometimes people are ready too. Um, I think if we actually did statistics right now in the last 5 years, even, we'd see that a lot of women left corporate and started their own businesses,
yes, I
consulting
love
and
this.
coaching, because then we can, work at our own pace, make our own schedules. We're consulting or in coaching in those fields, and it's a lifestyle, choice as well to be able to still maintain your lifestyles and keep your foot in the door. You're not, but be able to not necessarily slow down, but be able to work more at your own choice, so to speak.
Like that's something that I love. It's working on my own terms. Setting this business up in a way that it doesn't require me to work more than 40 hours a week because I can't. I physically can't anymore. I can't work the way that I used to in my 20s or 30s where I could pull like 70, 80-hour work weeks and then, catch up on sleep on a weekend and then I'm fine. And it doesn't work like that anymore.
No, I'm with you. So let me ask you this. What time do you book your earliest meeting in the mornings?
Oh, my earliest meeting is no sooner than like 9 o'clock. And that's very rare. That's
Mine's
very
like
rare.
11.
Yeah, yeah. The 9 o'clock is only where that's the only time that can make that schedules can work, or if somebody is in a different time zone and I'm accommodating. But that's very rare.
Yeah.
Beyond that, yeah, it's like
Then I'm like,
10:30.
I gotta get up early. No.
Yeah. I know. Oh my god. Well, unfortunately, not unfortunate, it's fortunately, I have 2 dogs, and they are the loves of my life, but they do like to get me up early. So, even though I don't like getting on calls too early in the day, because I like having a slow start to my morning,
Yeah,
I'm
me
usually
too.
up no later than 7. Then, let them out in the yard, make sure that they have their breakfast and their, fresh water and all that stuff, and then have my coffee, have my breakfast, have my, just morning to just be prepared for the day. And just, I love that slow moving morning as opposed to what it used to be was rush, rush, rush and go, go, go. But yeah, I hear you. So like, yeah, 9 o'clock is the earliest, but only for special circumstances. But on the regular, like 10:30, I don't like having meetings before then.
Okay. But yet, going back to what you do, you work with higher, functioning women.
Yes.
So walk me through it.
Yeah. Okay. So the program that I developed is an online course that women go through over 12 weeks. And so each week a new module will unlock and they will learn the various actionable and executive level leadership skills that they need to learn. So there is that self study with exercises that they will do, knowledge checks. And then at the end of the week, we'll have a 1 hour group session. So the women in the cohort, we all meet as a group and they share what worked and what didn't work as far as the action items or the action plans they had to put into practice that week. And then they can share maybe insights, lessons learned, maybe what didn't go well, and receive coaching as part of that group session. And that goes for 12 weeks. So it's really, for me, low touch because they're doing the majority of the study, that's self study. And I meet with them once a week for the 12 weeks for 1 hour. And so I can scale that out to multiple cohorts and, still give them the time and attention that they need during the coaching sessions. But it's not something that requires a lot of my time. And I also have add on coaching packages that are one on one sessions, which could be booked like 30 minutes or 60-minute increments. And then that's based on schedule availability. So generally, I reserve Thursday and Fridays for my podcast recording and then group cohorts. And then they will have options for booking executive coaching between Monday to Wednesday, but they likely won't want to book until like a break in their day. And that's usually lunch or mid afternoon or near the end of the day. I haven't yet had anyone ask for like first thing in the morning coach. Nobody wants that. Nobody.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand. So what are some of the things that you cover in your course then and in your teachings?
Predominantly, there is an AI component throughout. So they will learn about responsible and ethical use of AI. And that is because I have trained in a custom GPT on the course curriculum. And I have trained another custom GPT to run simulations. So, what that looks like in practice is with every module they go through, each exercise they have to do, there will be some element of exercise with AI tools and the AI coach. So then they learn not only how to leverage AI and how to prompt well, what to do, what not to do, and how to assess the result, but even what it means to use the different tooling. So when you think about Claude, you would use it for structured thinking, to take, maybe bullet points of your ideas and it will help put that into a structure for you. Use Perplexity AI for research to pull like from valid actual research articles that you can then leverage for some of the work that you're doing. And then the AI coach itself is really to pressure test, you know, your ideas and your actions for the learning. And in some cases, it generates the action plan for you that's custom for your role, industry, years of experience, and your experience with the specific topic at hand. And so that gets them comfortable with AI as they go throughout. They'll come out with an AI fluency and literacy that I think is really needed today, especially for leaders. But then the way that it's applied in the modules, I mean, they'll come out with the strategic leadership skills, financial acumen, and really understanding what that means for them if they're managing a budget, which generally director level and above, that's something that they will experience at some point. Navigating power and politics, as we talked about before. There's also a module dedicated to AI strategy and governance, which it's not about the tooling specifically. It's more about how you operationalize AI, how to do you plan to roll that out with guardrails, identify risk and things like that with that technology because it is very powerful. And that there's also board readiness. Like, what does it mean to present to a board? And then what does it mean to join a board and the different types of boards that are out there, what that journey looks like. For me, that module made me realize I don't ever want to join a board. Just saying. That's way more work and responsibility than I really want at this stage of my life.
Mhm.
If I was in my 50s, sure. But right now, after going through that whole process of, talking with other C-level executives who have been there, done that, and doing the research, I was like, yeah, no, thank you. Very cool, but not for me. And then the final module is on crisis leadership. And I feel like we've been living in crisis since the pandemic. It's been one thing after another. And I've seen good leadership in crisis and I've seen not so good leadership in crisis. So I think it's really important for leaders to have, the training and the learning around what does it mean to lead in crisis and what are the messages that you would communicate and how do you rein in your message depending on the, the stakeholder or the audience or your teams. So really that is something that is a learned skill. Nobody knows how to do this well just by nature. It really is. There's an art to it. There's a skill to it. And so by the time they come out of it, they have these amazing set of executive level skills on top of the knowledge around how to be a leader in the AI era, both with AI fluency and just the strategy and governance piece. So I feel like these are going to be women that come out of this program that are going to be a force to be reckoned with in corporate. They are going to be leading the charge, and that's the goal. I'd love to see more women elevate to C levels in all of these organizations because I think that women are going to really be able to change the face of corporate in a way that we need for the future. Right now, corporate's still operating on the traditional old rules and playbooks, from the decades ago, and it's time to change that. And I think women are the change makers.
I would agree. I would agree. I think that a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't acknowledge exactly what we're capable of. Um, and it's time. It's time we do that.
Agreed.
It's time.
Absolutely.
It's time we take charge of our lives. Um, I kind of am here to be in their face a little bit and say, well, what are you going to do? Continue to improve yourself. There are things we can do to help, like that we can deal with the brain fog and to be able to not push through, but manage
Yes.
and then excel and continue on.
Yeah.
So
Cut down sugar, cut down processed foods, get onto whole foods, eat enough protein in the day, move,
yes,
strength training, so many things. Like it is now feeling like a full-time job to maintain our health in a way that we
I
didn't have
agree.
to think about in our 20s, right?
So I think that's a key component to remember. And I think that lifestyle and choice can go with everything, even what we're talking about with the gap and what's available for women. It's a big conversation.
Big time. Oh, yeah, I agree. And when I say strength training, I don't mean like the goal is to be buff. It is just to
Absolutely.
Yeah, just to preserve some muscle because we lose muscle rapidly, right? And yeah, so like, yeah, by no means do I
It's for
have
your
any tone.
health. And I remember because I am not a person who enjoys working out,
Yeah,
but I know it's good for my health. And the funny thing is, after I'm done, particularly with the weight training, I feel physically strong because once you're done working out with your weights, like your muscles are engorged a little bit. You feel it and you feel physically strong. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm cool. I feel good mentally as well because I'm also helping me produce my own hormones naturally. So it's the whole chain reaction.
I have my good days and bad days where
Yes.
I'll have a day where I feel like I have the energy, I'll go for the walk, I'll do the exercise. And then I'll have days where I'm like, I could not drag myself out the door to to go for that walk or do anything.
Yeah.
And it's a battle every single day.
It does get better. I can tell you that it does get better.
Yes.
And I will say part of that is about choice, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
yes.
I want to just say one thing. I think it's interesting you said that though, because, and this goes back to my HRT a little bit. So even though you are on HRT, there are still some days where you have trouble motivating
Yes.
yourself. Would that be
Yes.
correct?
Yes. Yes. It's not a magic, thing. It doesn't fix everything.
And the only
For
reason
me,
I'm
the things that
saying, yeah, sorry. The only reason I'm bringing it up and I'm saying it this way because there are some experts, you know, who, is just you got to take HR because of the estrogen, level. But there are other ways you can also produce and get estrogen as well. It's just so, and I'm not poo pooing what you're doing by any means, but I just want to make sure that we mention for anybody who might be hearing this and you know there is a bigger picture involved, right?
yes,
Total
100%.
total body wellness kind of thing. Is there anything else what would you like to leave everybody with today?
I would say it feels like this is the most challenging time in our lives. And it feels like once we finally got a handle on things, our bodies are betraying us and our minds are betraying us, and everything feels like it's out of our control, but it's not. It does get better, but it takes, like you said, planning, takes intention to try different things that work for you, and it is trial and error to find out what actually works and what doesn't, and give yourself grace through that time. But for me, what I'm trying to do, the way I'm trying to improve, life for women is giving them the skills to be the leaders that they already are, just optimizing how they show up,
Yes.
optimizing how they navigate the challenges in the workplace and how they lead differently. And that gives women a whole sense of confidence that's in addition to where they're already at, right? Women at our stage, we have confidence. We've established ourselves, we have the experience. But the feedback that I'm getting from women in the cohort is it's just built on top of that confidence. It's given them so it's they already have the confidence, based on their experience and their time, you know, honing their expertise. But this is from what the women in my cohort have said, it's given them an additional boost, an additional insight into what was maybe missing for them before that just unlocks a whole new way to move within an organization and how to really establish themselves as that thought leader, as that executive leader, and how to advocate for themselves even more. So that's what I, wish for every woman, whether you go through my program or not. I wish for every woman to just be audacious, have the audacity to do what makes you happy, be audacious and have the audacity to take care of yourself first for once. We've
Yes.
spent our whole lives taking care of everybody else because your health and well being is important and it's needed more than anything. Your family needs you, your colleagues need you. And the only way that you're able to show up for them is if you start putting yourself first. So do that, and everything else will be fine.
Amen to that, sister.
Yes.
Amen to that. I totally agree. And I think that's the perfect way to end today's episode. Thank you so much for sharing that and sharing your story and what you do. I think that you help a lot of women to be able to achieve, what they want to achieve out of life. And I think that's so inspirational in itself. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, Lori's info will be down below, of course, to be able to connect and seek out her services as well. So with that, I'm going to thank her again for coming on and remind everybody to remember to choose self-love first. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of the Menopause Mindshift Self-Love Podcast. Bye for now.